Hey listeners, just a quick note that the first 7 episodes of this series were recorded before the tragic passing of Akira Toriyama. We hope that by sharing our love and passion for what he has created, we can somehow honor his memory.
Yep, you will be missed, Akira. Everyone, welcome back to another episode of Nerdy Jock Media Presents Dragon Ball Z Megapod. This is my co-host DK.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, how you doing, DK? And I'm Kevin Ketchum. Welcome back. This is going to be a great episode. But before we get started and jump right in, I gotta say, you look a little bit different.
Yeah, man, something happened.
Something happened, huh? It looks like...
I awakened an inner rage and a purity that I didn't know I had laying dormant within me. And it changed my hair color, changed my whole life.
That's what it was, the hair color. Okay, so you
Yeah.
decided to just skip Kaioken and go straight to Super Saiyan, I guess, huh?
Yep, exactly. I mean, I had to lose my childhood best friend in order to do it. So, but whatever. I got awesome hair, He'll be fine. We go on in the afterlife. We know this now because of Dragon Ball. You continue, so.
Or you come back again.
Yeah.
Either way, thanks for joining us here. You can follow us on all of our social medias at Nerdy Jock _media on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Just follow us on all of the socials, and we'll try to keep you guys plugged in as well with lots of new fun content up and coming. All right, so let's get started. Want to give us a little recap of where we were last time?
Yeah, I think last time we were talking about the pendulum room. You had the name of the episode up, but it was the special training that was filler. That's actually a pretty good story where they're basically sorry, go ahead.
Oh no. Episode 17, Pendulum Room Peril.
That's right.
And by the way, on this episode, we're going to cover episode 17 through 25.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot of episodes.
But it's some of the best stuff in the series.
Yeah, so if you guys want to get caught up, this is actually my favorite section of the anime probably.
Oh,
maybe in the whole series. So stay tuned, plug in, because this is where it gets awesome.
All right, yeah. I mean, a lot of cool stuff happens. There's a lot to say. The pendulum room, I mean, I think we were talking last time about how the training that's done with Kami, no one knows what the hell it is. Even when Goku trains with them, we never see it.
Yeah.
At least in the comic. Yeah, we never see it, and then he just shows up and he can levitate. He's got that Bukujitsu or whatever. He can levitate. But now we actually get to see, thanks to the filler, we get to see what the training on Kami's Lookout looks like, and it's not very remarkable.
Not at all.
It just kind of looks like the same stuff that they would do anyway, like weighted clothes, sparring, like Krillin flipping over like a palm tree and bouncing off of it. I mean, it's just high in the sky, so it's like extreme altitude training, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they probably got a quick level up from climbing. I mean, that's the lookout,
Right.
Kami Lookout. I remember when Goku and Dragon Ball was climbing that. That was a nightmare to climb.
Yes.
And that took a lot of endurance, strength training, grip, dexterity, obviously.
Right.
But it seemed like, our guys, for plot purposes, they got through it pretty quick.
I just realized, is it canon then that he leaves the Nyoibo, or the power pole as it is in English? Does he leave it connected from Korin's tower to the lookout?
Great question.
Just one of those things. Akira Toriyama notoriously says he has a terrible memory. So a lot of these questions sort of pop up throughout the entire run Dragon Ball in every iteration.
All the time.
So, but we do know that Tien, Yamcha, and Chiaotzu, Chiaotzu can float. We know that from when he first shows up. But yeah, Tien and Yamcha certainly can't fly by the time that we're at this point. So they get to the lookout somehow. So we'll just assume that Nyoibo is just up there because we never see it. I don't think in any Z except for like a movie or two. Anyways, I digress. Pendulum Room. This is cool filler because basically this is a moment where characters do something that I love in narrative where they address a question that the audience has. Or basically they're like, Kami, what the fuck? Like, we've been training. You're not teaching us shit. Like, what do we do? And he's like, all right, come with me. And then he sends them to their deaths. Like, he sends them into a pendulum room where they go and they fight Saiyans in the past and they just get murked. And they're like, oh shit. And he's like, yes, you're dead. And the guys that are coming, they're stronger.
And these guys, these old guys, they're like Waldorf and Statler from the Muppets, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Same version of the old guys from the Muppets, that just talk shit on the Muppet stage. Like,
Right.
Those kind of guys.
They kill them in like really elaborate ways too. Like they like hide like in a skull that melts and stuff like that. It's like pretty. It's not a straight on thing like most Saiyans would do.
Right.
Like they make a meal out of the horror of it.
It was a fun filler episode to watch because Krillin they get murdered brutally. It's pretty crazy. Like I think Krillin's head gets Chiaotzu's head gets like smashed in.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And you can kind of see his hand. You can't if you're on the listening to the pod, you can't see this, but you can just kind of see his hand and his head is off screen getting like smushed.
Right.
And then drop dead. And like, holy crap, Chiaotzu's gone. Boom.
Yeah. And the point of the lesson is just Kami basically reiterating like, oh, the guys that are coming can kill you way worse than those guys could. And they're like, okay, let's get back. Let's put the weighted clothes back on. Let's do our extreme altitude training, I guess is all it is.
Yeah.
So
and there's a fun quick little, snippet into where we were from last week with the pendulum room peril. And the good thing about this one, as after this episode, this filler one, it's exciting because like, hey, if you've seen it before, the good stuff is coming.
Right.
Okay. Next episode, which is number 18, which we're going to just jump right into right now, is the end of Snake Way. Now, this is one of my favorite episodes. Just this whole next 20 episodes rock. Now, basically, here's a quick breakdown of episode 18, End of Snake Way. Gohan continues his martial arts training under the watchful eye of Piccolo, but a strange transformation takes him over. A full moon causes the young Saiyan to rampage out of control. Meanwhile, Goku finally makes it to the end of Snake Way and mistakes a friendly ape named Bubbles for the mythical King Kai. With two of our heroes going bananas, it looks like the two sinister Saiyans will have an easy time invading Earth.
Shout out to the Dragon Ball Wiki for these amazing recaps.
Yeah, bookmark and use Dragon Ball Wiki all the time. It is a fantastic resource for anyone who wants to learn more about Dragon Ball.
We should mention really quick that the way that we're revisiting these things is a little bit different. Like you're actually going through Z.
Correct.
He's doing the hard lifting here. Like he's going through Z, all the fillers. I mean, I'm doing Kai because I'm a dad. I don't have, I'm mainly watching my son during the day, and then I have a couple of hours to watch stuff at night. And I'm showing this to my girlfriend as we go. And by episode 18, they've already gone through Vegeta. It's already done. So remind me, is this the episode where the full moon that makes Gohan transform is the one that is projected from Goku's pot?
Not yet. Actually.
Not yet.
That's coming up. That's like a few episodes later.
Never mind. All right.
This was pretty cool. Okay, so this is when a lot of really fun stuff happens. Goku finally makes it to King Kai's planet. He doesn't know. He gets to the end of Snake Road. He looks up. He's like, "Where the hell? What's going on here? Where's this planet?" He looks up in the distance, and boom, he sees King Kai's planet. He jumps up there, gets on there, and then immediately, smack, goes straight through the earth, like inches in the ground. And he can't even lift up. He can't even do one push-up.
Right.
He's like desperately trying to get up off the ground here. And then he sees this ape, this little monkey guy, come over, and he automatically assumes, being Goku, that this is King Kai, and this is something Goku, unfortunately, would, think, is that the ape is King Kai. But he asks him for training, and he just kind of follows him around until he does find King Kai.
It's a cool little thing too. The misunderstanding is he begs him to train him, and then Bubbles just starts doing like this little movement, and Goku's like, "Oh, that makes sense because you'd have to be really strong to do that here."
Right.
And Goku will do anything. He just loves training, so he's like, "Yeah, totally." He just starts doing the Bubbles dance.
He's like, "Let's go for it," and he starts doing the Bubbles dance. King Kai pops up, introduces himself, and then boom. First introduction to King Kai. Huge part of Dragon Ball Z for the future till the very end. And one point I should make real quick about King Kai is that when Dragon Ball, when this first Vegeta Saga arc came out, we didn't know that the Kais were going to play such a big part. Even later on down the road in the Buu Saga, if you're just watching this for the first time or reading the manga for the first time, you're like, okay, Kais, okay, cool. There's the great King Yama, on Serpentine Road. and in heaven, and you're like, who is this King Kai guy? And the Kais play a huge part all the way down from the Buu saga, even into Super. Then they get extra. It's like they level up, and so this is like King Kai was like the very early like, hey, we're gonna level up. We're gonna show you guys an expanded universe that we haven't even knocked into yet, which is kind of cool. So maybe they retconned that and said, hey, we'll do more King Kai stuff or Kaioshin stuff later, but it's a great place to start.
Totally, yeah. And I think even in some of the fan-loved filler later, like where you have not just King Kai, but you have the King Kais of the other quadrants of the universe. It's like the universe is divided into 4 or whatever, and it's like, this is the Kai of the northern galaxy, the eastern, the southern, the western, and all that stuff, and they each have their own champions. And even though that stuff is filler, it also kind of sets the table for canon stuff that happens in Super, where there are different versions of Kaioshin and Destroyer gods and all the different universes. And they have champions that are the strongest there that they want to pit against the other universes. So it is kind of a cool concept. And we start here with this guy.
Right.
And we're not even really sure who he is. I remember in the original run, all we know is that I think that the guy who drives Goku to Snake Way says, only one person who has ever made it to King Kai, and that was King Yama. Or Yama, whatever version you're watching and stuff. And he made it centuries ago, and we already know that Yama is this Buddhist deity who's also like a bureaucrat who presides over everything and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a cool little thing. I mean, I even think at this point in the show, if I'm trying to view it through virginal eyes, I don't know how significant King Kai is to the universe. It's just like, he's just like this, I guess, strong dude who lives at the end of a snake.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a cool little precursor to the future of Dragon Ball Z and Super ahead.
Totally.
Okay, let's continue on here. Now, next episode. Anything else we want to talk about that episode? Or?
I think this is the one with Goku's ship. It does say it right there a little bit, like wake up Kakarot and all this stuff. So one thing I just want to touch on really quick with
this. Got to retcon my previous statement. Yeah.
No, all good. One thing. So the filler does some stuff that later kind of fucks the canon just a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things because later, as we know, Goku's ship becomes an important part of the going to Namek thing. For those who are, watching this who have never seen it, I don't want to go too much into that, even though I guess we're way into spoiler country already. But so this whole thing where this does 2 things that kind of retcon ideas. Raditz tells Goku, like, this planet was chosen because it has a full moon every month. Like, that's incredible. So even a baby could just become an Ozaru once a month, and then the world would be wiped out in about 2 months, or like a year, or 2 years, or something like that. But then now we have this thing where it's like, no, his ship can project a full moon, which, I mean, the whole description that Vegeta says about the sun reflecting light and the Zenos and all that stuff triggering that reaction within them, it undoes so much of the canon. And you could tell that they were just hurting for space. They really didn't want to catch up. So they're like, what if we just have another episode where Gohan transforms into an ape?
Sounds a lot like a little bit of Star Wars prequel Metachlorian situation there.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
a little bit. Very similar. Like, we can...
Or even the post-sequel where it's like, the idea that anybody can have the Force, and then it's like, no, it's just bloodlines. It's like if you're a Skywalker or a Palpatine, you're just good with the Force, and that's it.
Yeah, that's anyone now, but
but yeah, the one thing fun in this episode though, which was not in the manga, which I loved as a kid, was Piccolo dividing himself and and fighting himself as a training exercise,
which is pretty cool, and we'll see that multiple times as well, actually.
Yeah, that comes back, and not just Piccolo with that technique.
Krillin picks it up pretty quick, too. We'll get to that in a second here, too. One more great point I want to make that you had just touched on was that I was wondering, I watched this episode, and I'm like, wait, if Kakarot or Goku and all the other lower-level Saiyans, not the super elites, are sent as children, right?
Right.
And they can't control their their ape form. Yeah. Like Vegeta. Like when Vegeta turns to his ape form in a few episodes later on, we'll get to that in a minute, but Vegeta, if you've seen it, Vegeta can talk, he can, make sound decisions in his ape form.
Right.
So it's like, if you're setting these children to come harvest this planet to get it ready for you, how do they know when to stop destroying the planet.
Right. Especially if we have to imagine that canonically Goku was left here alone for 20 years.
Right, 20 years.
Or so. Like he's left alone. There's a full moon every month. And the amount of destruction that they do on just one full moon is an insane amount. And even Vegeta says later to Nappa, when Nappa just takes out a city, it's like, hey, don't destroy too much. We still have to sell this planet eventually, dude. Like, we can't have it looking like shit. But obviously they just left Goku here, for 20 years, and if he had never forgotten his mission, if he had just become an Ozaru, there would have been two problems. One, the Earth would look like shit by the time Raditz showed up. Well, it's like, he would have the opposite problem. It's like, well, it looks like Kakarot didn't fail us, but now this planet is screwed. But also, Goku would just be dead, because there would be no vegetation or life to eat. No meat, no vegetables, nothing. Like, he would have just committed a mass genocide of everything on the planet, and then he would have died himself.
It would be like Judgment Day. I mean, it would be like T2 Judgment Day, something like that. It would be over. I'm like, okay, so
totally.
I wish they had an explanation for that, but that was just a random thought I had the other day. But great talking point. You let us know, guys. Put in the comments, what do you think? How's that possible? How do they know to stop killing? I don't know.
Right.
But we'll see. I was like, there's a lot of full moons, and
someone would have figured out, maybe, like Roshi in the manga and Dragon Ball blows up the moon with a Kamehameha. He might have figured out, like, oh, the ape monster comes out on a full moon and just blows it up, and then no problem. The world is saved.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay, so we're gonna move right on. Great points on that last episode here. We're going to move on to the next episode. It's called
Defying Gravity. Gohan's training with Piccolo continues to intensify, but it's Goku who faces the biggest challenge. Goku begins his training, but it is unlike anything he ever experienced before. The intense gravity of King Kai's planet make training difficult, but when he learns that the Saiyans are used to extreme fighting conditions, Goku is inspired to give it his all. But will it be enough?
Okay.
And the training, because it's a little obtuse here, the training is he has to catch bubbles. Right. He has to adjust to the gravity, so he has to catch this monkey who's used to it, and wear weighted clothing eventually in order to do that. So
a couple of notes about this episode, Defying Gravity. This is a great episode for Gohan and Piccolo. I love it. I was cracking up the whole time. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because Piccolo was a savage to Gohan in this episode.
Yeah.
Here's just a list of things he did to Gohan in this episode. He does a point blank to his face ki blast of energy that looks pretty damn strong. He kicks him into a mountain, literally kicks him into a mountain, and then later on in the episode, after he bitch smacks him in the face, gets a huge wad on Gohan's face. Gohan. They're about like on a 400-foot mountaintop. And this is before Gohan's even, he's still just little Gohan,
He's a 4-year-old boy.
Yeah, he's a 4-year-old boy that hasn't been through any training. This is like day 1, day 2 of training.
Yeah.
And he goes up to him. Poor Gohan is literally hanging off the side of a cliff. And then Piccolo scars him from like Lion King. He just says, he's like, Piccolo, help me. And he just steps on his fingers and he falls off the cliff.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, Piccolo, you are a savage. But
no, he doesn't care if he lives. He's just like, he's like, I'm going to go as hard as I can on him. And he's got to adapt because otherwise he's useless in the fight. He's either a help or he's a liability. So, but it is pretty brutal to watch.
Yeah. So Piccolo is more of your, 1940s kind of 50s World War II kind of father, like, hey, I'm gonna send you out there, survive or die,
or like a 12th century Mongolian, they could ride horses and shoot up like those heavy bow and arrows by the time they were like 8 or something. Right. They're just bred for war, So
I mean, eventually the training does pay off. But that was a fun episode for me because it was a cool moment to just see, Gohan learning to take some punishment.
Totally.
Up until now, it's just been a little couple punches and kicks, and we saw some really good, actual, cool, fun training sequences there.
Right. Well. And there's a line somewhere. I don't know if it was in an episode that's already passed or if it's coming up, but King Kai mentions that, I think it was in this episode or the last one, where King Kai says that Saiyans inherently have an instinct to fight. That like part of their instinct is to fight, which kind of makes sense where Gohan, his form and, the way he punches and kicks looks pretty good, even though he's had no formal training or martial arts training of any kind, really. But it looks pretty good. But again, 4-year-old boy and just getting beat up by this guy who, up till now, we assumed was a demon. So it's crazy.
Piccolo Daimo, yeah. And one other cool moment is Gohan and Piccolo kind of share a tender-ish moment around the campfire.
Oh, this is such a great scene, yeah.
And then Gohan's like, oh, you're not so bad. You're just like my big green Uncle Piccolo. And then Piccolo's like, oh, kid. But
it's like, my dad always said that you're just grumpy. You're not evil. And like Piccolo's chafing so hard.
Yeah. His brow is like furrowed. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
This damn kid.
And he's like, go to sleep or I'm going to kill you. Or something like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
It was fun. It was a great episode. And this is where it's going, guys. It's getting better and better every episode. I mean, less filler now that we're going deeper.
Right.
And that was episode 19. Just a really fun one. Kind of get you amped up, motivated for what's about to come. Number 20. It's called Goku's Ancestors, and this was a majority of it was filler. They had a couple sequences. Let me read this first.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Goku's Ancestors. After Goku completes the first phase of his special martial arts training, King Kai instructs him to bash Gregory with a hammer. Easier said than done. After an exhaustive chase, King Kai tells a story of the Saiyan race. Inspired, Goku resumes his training, eventually manages to put the hammer to Gregory. Impressed, King Kai agrees to train Goku personally. But will it be enough to stop the incoming Saiyan invasion of Earth? Okay.
This is an interesting episode because we're gonna fall back on this theme that keeps coming up about filler stuff undoing canon.
Right.
So as we've previously discussed, King Kai oversees basically all of that part of the galaxy. Like everything where Planet Vegeta was, Planet Earth, all of that stuff. King Kai is horribly misinformed about the history of the Saiyans. Horribly. Like just makes up shit. Basically, like, there was this war with these people called the Tuffles, and then a full moon happened. It was the first time in 10 years, or however long it was, or
it was a long time.
And so the guardian of the planet Vegeta was like, you know what? Enough of this bloodshed, and brought down a meteor storm to destroy the planet, and that is a glaring oversight for somebody who rules the galaxy, especially someone that we know later is aware of who Frieza is. Because when he finds out that Frieza's on Namek, he's like, Goku, stay the fuck away from Frieza. Right. But yeah, he had no idea that Frieza destroyed the Saiyans who were employed by him. He didn't even know about that.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, this is just... I thought it was fun filler when I saw it as a kid, because I didn't know it was filler. I mean, you get to see that shot of Goku in the Saiyan armor.
Right.
And all of that, and I was like, oh man, this is actually like a really cool like world building thing.
Yeah, this was a fun. I mean, every episode on King Kai's planet I kind of like. I have a good big spot in my heart for anything on King Kai's planet. I wish they do spend more time there later in the future, but I like all the stuff that happens there. Gregory wasn't even in the manga, but evidently Dragon Ball Wiki says that they did actually get approval from Akira Toriyama to add Gregory, and he wasn't in the manga, but he is a canon character.
He is, yeah. Even if you are watching Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is edited to be more in line with the manga, both Bubbles and Gregory and the trials of catching them and hitting them with a hammer are in Kai.
Right, and yeah, exactly. And that was made after Dragon Ball Z, but before Kai. They said, okay, he's going to be a part of it. Leave him in Kai. They're like, should we cut him because he's not in the manga? He's like, nope, leave him in. He's a great character. Right. Adds a little bit. He's pretty funny, great comic relief, Gregory. He likes to talk smack to Goku, which is pretty great.
It's great training too. I mean, trying to hit a tiny, like almost light speed like cricket on 10 times gravity planet with a giant hammer.
Hammer that's heavier than anyone has ever used before.
Right,
which is probably just King Yama, actually.
Yeah.
From what I can tell from the previous trainees.
And you see, I didn't even remember that all this happened in one episode, but I love like that Goku is just basically demolishing King Kai's planet. Like there's like hammer craters all over. He smashes his car.
His Cadillac gets destroyed. If I'm King Kai, I'm not happy about that. I'm like, dude, I mean, he complains a little bit. I'm like, dude, you're gonna fix that shit.
Right.
He's like, that's a classic car. That's his favorite possession.
I figure it just gives him something to do because his life must suck being on that tiny planet. He's got nothing to do. He said previously, like, oh yeah, there's lots to do. I look at grass, me and Bubbles have like peeing contests and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if his car gets broken, he has to fix his car. It's like, all right, well, that's like at least a year, you know, like trying to figure out how to fix this Cadillac. So that's a new hobby.
You know, but don't really worry about King Kai's planet and destruction because I think Cell comes and does like an extreme home makeover pretty soon.
Yeah,
In the Cell saga, I think something like that kind of happens. But,
I think so. Yeah,
I'm not sure. I don't know, but I think
Goku does worse later on.
yeah, he's like, hold my beer.
Right.
Come back in the Cell saga. We'll see how much destruction we can do to this little planet.
Which raises so many questions. I mean, if he's been to the cold depths of space and he knew he was going to die anyway, he could have just brought Cell to the cold depths of space. Anyway. He's like, sorry, King Kai, I guess you're going to die with me.
I know. Sayonara. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just another key note. It took... just for time frame, because these episodes are going fast. You know, when they first came out, it took forever for a new episode to air.
Oh yeah,
it was a long, tenuous process.
Those horrible years of just the same episodes over and over and over again, and it's like, when is something new gonna come out?
But like you got little teases here and there saying how time is passing. Besides the narration, like it evidently took Goku 2 weeks to hit Gregory. 2 weeks of training, just like running around.
And 3 months to catch Bubbles. Right?
Yeah, it was insane. But then by the end, he's pretty strong. Anything else in this episode we need to talk about? Let me see. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I guess back on Earth. Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, Chiaotzu, and Yachirobe complete their training with Kami, which in a couple episodes we'll see didn't really do much training.
No, they didn't. But I would say whatever they did or didn't do, it was very effective.
Yeah.
Because they're all stronger than Raditz by the time Vegeta and Nappa show up. So it's like, oh, okay. So
I mean, I don't want to spoil the plot here, but Krillin does pick up one of my favorite like special techniques in Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah.
So that's something like he just randomly learned, but we'll get to that in a second here.
Yeah.
All right.
A couple of them. I mean, when we get to that, there's a couple of things that he does that are canon. That's like, that's a badass move. Why didn't he do that more often?
We're getting there.
Yeah.
All right. Want to read 21?
Yeah. Counting down. Goku's training with King Kai complete. Master Roshi and the gang summon the Eternal Dragon to wish him back to life. And they're not a moment too soon. There's only 1 day left before the Saiyans arrive. The problem is it's going to take Goku 2 days to return on Snake Way. Because King Kai miscalculated. He let Goku train right up to the limit and didn't factor in the amount of time that it would take him to travel back across Snake Way, which are amazing stakes. It's like now the people who we know are weaker than Goku have to just hold it down until he gets there.
And Goku straight up says it. He's like King Kai. He's like, they're probably gonna be dead before the time I get back there. He literally called
the Earth
that out.
might be gone.
Yeah, the Earth might be gone. I mean, I don't know why they can't do any kind of instant transmission. I know he hasn't learned that technique yet, but I'm sure King Kai has the power to like zap him, transport him.
Well, Kami does it when eventually he gets back. So why can't Kami just go to King Kai's planet? And okay, here is the reason for it though, is because narratively it is awesome that Goku has to travel all the way back.
Right.
Because that immediately, like my girlfriend's reaction when that happened was like, oh my God, he's not gonna make it. Like I think she said those words. And when she said that, I was like, yes, this works. Okay. It works. Yeah. Like
it builds great tension there.
Yeah. But it's one of those things, like people have pointed out in the Harry Potter series how, in I think it's book 3, the time turner is introduced. Like Hermione uses it to take more classes than she normally would be able to take. And then it ends up saving, what's his name? It saves Harry's godfather. I'm sorry for any Potter fans out there. Gary Oldman, yeah, it saves that character. It saves that guy. Sirius Black.
I know. We're going to get destroyed by Harry Potter fans.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I love Harry Potter. It's just one of my favorites.
Well, no one's going to comment because everyone pretends that they don't like Harry Potter anymore.
Love Harry Potter. Huge fan.
So, I mean, it's an amazing plot device in that book. Like book 3, Prisoner of Azkaban, amazing. But it does beg the question, why didn't people just use the time turner to kill Tom Riddle before he became Voldemort? So this might be one of those things. It's like, well, I mean, maybe there are rules that we don't know about. Kami can't go past Yama's palace because he can't leave. I don't know.
Maybe there's just let's just assume there's powers beyond his control, which
Yeah, there are good stakes. And speaking of powers beyond his control, we learned something about that in this episode. If you want to talk about that,
exactly. So this is a cool little recap episode. Not a recap; it's a pre-cap, actually, in a way. So Goku's finished his training. His clothes are ragged, destroyed. King Kai gives him a little nice upgrade, which is always fun in Dragon Ball. It's one of the key things you'll see going on and on and on. You train with the new master, you get the new upgraded gi, you get the new logo on the back, boom.
I loved that as a kid. I had a Goku toy that came with the option of stickers, and because this was the only era that I was so used to, it was like I had to have the Kame sticker in the front and the Kai logo in the back.
And that's they do that all the way through Super and the rest of the series as well. But something cool here is that Goku has to show off his new powers in training. It's a quick way to say, okay, what has he accomplished? And King Kai says to him, he shows off the moves. He does the spirit bomb.
Right. On that brick that is levitated, yeah.
King Kai throws a brick around the world super fast, and Goku has to bash it using a Genki Dama, which is a spirit bomb, which is a really cool move that we're going to see multiple times in the future, which is one of my favorite techniques of all. And I also think it's a great technique just for a finishing move for a big bad. I mean, I know it gets reused a lot, but it is kind of like an ultimate, hey, use the power there. So Genki Dama, want to describe what Genki Dama is first? Actually?
Sure, yeah. So Genki Dama or Spirit Bomb is a technique that draws just a little bit of Genki, like health energy or life energy, from all things, and not just living things too, like from the sun, from water, just everything, has Genki, and it just draws just a little bit of that together over time to create something that, like an attack basically, that is designed to, later we learn, destroy the one thing that you're focusing on.
Right.
Because the whole thing with when Krillin has to use it later, which we touch on, is that he can't use his eyes. And I think King Kai says it right here too. You can't use your eyes. You have to feel the thing that you are trying to aim at and then use it that way.
He's actually talking to Krillin about that one too.
Right. Yeah. And it also becomes a great narrative thing later, because when the stakes get ramped up to a certain point, it's like Goku isn't just asking for a little bit of energy from everything. He's asking and begging because the survival of everything depends upon it.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, here, let me borrow everybody's energy for like a little bit of this thing. I feel like when the Genki Dama shows up, it's always because, look, like, this is a way that all of you can help defeat this thing that's going to wipe all of us out unless we stop it. So it is a cool technique, and it has that built-in vulnerability that Piccolo's attack, the Makanko Sapo or special beam cannon, has, where it takes time in order to gather the energy. And the person doing it seems to be aware of that, because like when Goku uses it, he always is aware of, like, when he's focusing on his target, he's like, it's not enough yet. It's not enough yet. It's like, I need more.
Little bit.
Yeah, little bit. And the size of it fluctuates throughout the series.
Right.
Like, it can be the size of, like right here, or it could be as big as the moon.
Right. Bowling ball to the moon, any size that you can make.
Right. But it is a great technique, and it shows up a lot more all the way through the rest of Z. Right. And it's a cool one that stuck around. So.
And one of my other favorite techniques, besides Super Saiyan, which is, I don't know if that's a technique or just more of a,
I think it's just a
lifestyle.
Well, eventually, techniques, I think we touched on in an earlier episode, techniques go out the window, and it just becomes about transformations.
Right.
So I feel like we're at the end of the technique era of Dragon Ball Z here. Like because eventually it's just upgrades, unlocking hidden potential, transformations, etc., etc. Actually, these are in the Saiyan saga are the last new techniques that we see for possibly all the way through until Vegeta busts out some stuff like Final Flash, Big Bang Attack, stuff like that.
Well, Goku does learn instant transmission as well.
That's true.
On Yard Rat, I think that's the name of the planet.
Yeah. Okay, so...
But that's about it. But Kaioken, awesome technique.
Amazing.
One of my favorites. So basically...
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, you go ahead.
Okay, so basically, Kaioken is a technique that takes whatever your battle energy is, whatever the level is right there, and then it multiplies it. So if Goku is training, he soups up his power level, he gets up to 17,000, 18,000, 19,000, 20,000, boom. He's strong, he's up there, he's nearly unbeatable. And then he uses Kaioken. Times 1 is like, so 20,000, well, we should be like times 2, but essentially it doubles it.
I think when he uses it, it's automatically times 2.
It's automatically
it
times 2. It
doubles his power, yeah.
But he will say, to let you know that he's going to go even further. If Kaioken times 1 is not enough, he'll go Kaioken times 2. And that'll quadruple or double what he just doubled. So basically...
To address the fans really quick too, I know some people are like, it's Kaioken. Look, we all know Dragon Ball Z has gone through so many English translations. There are so many versions of it. So like whether you say Kaioken or Kaioken, it doesn't matter. I say Kaioken. Yeah, like it's like tomato in that way. I mean, unfortunately, that's just how it is in English. I mean, even the word Saiyan is incorrect. It should be Saiyan. In Japanese, it's Saiyan. So, but we all say Saiyan because that's what we're used to. So nobody chafe. Nobody be a purist. It's Kaioken, it's Kaioken. That's just the unfortunate reality of the localization. I mean, that's all we can say about it, really. But going back to this, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Yeah, thank you for protecting me from
I mean,
onslaught that might come. My apologies if I'm not pronouncing it right. I've always just called it Kaioken as a kid.
At this point, there just is no right because there is more English material of it being Kaioken than it is being Kaioken. The first time I ever heard it called Kaioken was in the Pioneer movies. So for people who don't know, when Funimation Ocean did the original run of the series, there was a brief period where Pioneer localized the first 3 movies, Dead Zone, World's Strongest, and Tree of Might. And the original Goku, Ian James Corlett, was not Goku in those movies. It was the second Goku, Peter Kalamis. And he, I think, maybe referencing Masako Nozawa's performance, he pronounced it Kaioken.
Right.
And I remember being like, well, what the hell is that? This is pre-internet. I'm a kid. Why is he calling it Kaioken? Why is he kind of, in a World's Strongest, it sounds like he's doing a Masako Nozawa impression. He's like, Kaioken. Like, it sounds very similar to the way she does it. And then when I learned later that, it's Kaio-sama, like in the Japanese for like Kinkai and stuff like that, I was like, oh, I get it. It's because Ken is like fist, or like style. So it's like, it's the fist of Kaioken. Okay. But it was Kaioken forever. And if you buy the season sets now, like that's how it is if you watch it in English. So whatever. Anyways, this is a long digression about pronunciation. We're gonna pronounce things differently as we go. I mean,
all the time.
Yeah. So it's all good. But to nail down this technique, I fucking love this technique so much. I love it. And there's stuff that's gonna happen later that's gonna be a better jumping off point to talk about why this is such a great technique. So let's just put a bookmark in it for now. Except for the fact that we don't even know yet. We don't even know what this is.
We'll be back.
Yeah, we'll be back with this.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and also another major event that does happen in this episode is the Goku is brought back to life. The Earth crew, Bulma and the gang, Roshi, they collect all the Dragon Balls, have a drink, have a cheers, summon Shenron,
Eternal Dragon,
yeah. Whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
Summon him, bring Goku back to life. Boom, Halo's gone. Let's do this.
Right. And to touch on an earlier point that we brought up too, Kami's limitations. Because I think the first thing that happens is Oolong is like, hey, like, ask for him to kill the Saiyans before they get here.
Right.
And they're like, wait, you just want to leave Goku dead? And Oolong, again, serving as the voice of the audience, it's like, guys, we could just wish him back in a year. Like, who cares? Like, why don't we just skip the fight? And Shenlong says, I can't do that because I was created by Kami and I can't grant a wish that is, supersedes his abilities.
Right.
Which, I mean, it's like you can't just blow up their ships and make them suffocate in space or whatever. But whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just can't be sticking on this. That's the major, big, major, minor, big plot points that are.
Here's the thing about manga writing, guys, is that they have to write and draw 22 pages a week. It's not always going to be crystal perfect, but it's some of the best storytelling in the world. Like the fact that this guy pulled off Piccolo Jr., the Saiyans, and Namek back to back in a row, which took years. And it would just ratcheted the stakes. It just got better and better. And every single week there was 22 new pages to read. I mean, that's hard. Like, no Hollywood writer has a job that hard. No, and I'm not shitting on Hollywood writers at all. I have a lot of friends who write in this town and all that. I mean, I know we're not in Hollywood right now. We're taking a little vacation, which we all know where we are. We can see it. I know where this is.
We will know soon enough.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a Herculean task.
Yeah.
Plotting and drawing Dragon Ball every single week. So
okay, so I think on this pod we should just officially give grace and love and forgiveness for this. This is going to happen a lot. We might mention it, but we're just not gonna dwell on the little things. That,
right.
You know.
I think that's part of the fandom too. Like, for people who love Abridged, Abridged is made by people who obviously really, really love the material. And who also are happy to just, take the piss out of it and stuff like that, which is why it's great. But
that's fandom, and we love it. So
okay.
Also, big thing we just didn't talk about yet. Counting down, episode 21, last part. The Saiyans finally arrive in East City, or on Earth. All right, episode 22. We're gonna go right into it. Want to read it for us?
Sure. The Saiyans Vegeta and Nappa defiantly announce their arrival on Earth with the complete destruction of East City. Sensing their power, Vegeta, Gohan, and Krillin prepare for the worst. I think that's supposed to be Piccolo. Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin prepare for the worst and meet the Saiyans face to face, where Piccolo learns of his origins on the planet Namek. Yajirobe also learns of the Saiyans' arrival, but uses it merely as an occasion for profit. Our heroes are left facing an onslaught of sprouted Cybermen under the grinning command of Vegeta and Nappa. Yeah. Wow, a lot in just this episode. Yeah.
This is a dense episode as well. All these from here on out, actually, everything's pretty dense. Pretty cool though. Every episode here is awesome.
Right.
Cybermen, pretty much like your Cell Juniors. We're not there yet, obviously. But it's a little bit of a taste of things to come,
right?
And 2 more sagas down the road. But Goku basically right now he's running down Snake Way. He's flying actually right now. He's not even running. He's flying.
Which we all remember. It took him 6 months. To get there.
Half a year.
Yeah.
And I think, don't quote me. No, we should quote me on this one. I think at the end of this episode he's like halfway back. I think he passes Princess Snake.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I think, or it might be the next one, but we'll figure that out as well. But he's flying back down Snake Way, and the pressure is high, everything's intense, and we got to figure out what's going on here. So,
right.
Nappa is just going nuts. He's like, I want to destroy this whole town. Let's go. We see them for the first time on Earth. Vegeta's sitting quiet, really not saying much. But Nappa's this big, brutish guy. One of the only Saiyan that's like bald, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's a first. So I don't know.
Is it a choice? Is it male pattern baldness? Who knows?
If he goes Super Saiyan, does his like beard and eyebrows go blonde or like,
right? I think that question was answered by a lot of fans on GeoCities 20 years ago. all the fan art there too. And by the way, just the designs of Vegeta and Nappa, great designs because Vegeta is very small. He doesn't say a lot. Nappa looks bigger and stronger than any foe we have seen in Dragon Ball so far, yet Nappa has deference bordering on fear towards Vegeta. When Vegeta scolds him, like, what if the Dragon Balls had been in the city? There goes our wish for eternal life. And Nappa, this big, strong dude, is like a coward. He's like, I'm sorry, Prince Vegeta. And he might not say prince yet. I don't know if we know that Vegeta is a prince at this point, but... Right. He's like, oh, sorry, Vegeta. He's very deferential and scared of him, which puts in our mind, it's like, okay, well, how the fuck strong is Vegeta?
Right.
If this guy can just hydrogen bomb a city with 2 fingers, it's like, yeah, how strong is Vegeta? Which is great design, great narrative device. It's awesome.
It's pretty cool. Pretty darn cool. Okay, so Nappa, Vegeta, they use their scouters, and they try to look for the highest powers, and they find, obviously, Piccolo, Krillin, and Gohan. And they go to meet the Saiyans, actually. They kind of meet them up there themselves. They sense the power levels close by, which ends up being Krillin. And then they chat. The Earthlings all go, and Vegeta and Nappa arrive at Paprika Wasteland. Okay, so, and I'm kind of going to recaps here too. Now, recognizing Piccolo's voice, I think Vegeta's one, he determines that he was the one who killed Raditz.
Right.
And then, Piccolo then finds out from the two of them that he's in fact a Namekian from planet Namek.
Right.
Which is huge, kind of a throwaway line in this episode, actually.
Yeah.
It's huge, but like they don't overplay it, they don't overstate it. Vegeta's basically like, hey, if he's a Namekian and he's, his people are responsible for the Dragon Balls, I didn't know that it was real. I thought it was just a legend. He's like, let's see.
It's like we've heard that some of them have magical powers and can do weird tricks.
Right, but
I think he says,
old wives' tale. But now they're realizing, okay, maybe there's something to this, and maybe there's more Dragon Balls on planet Namek.
Right.
So a little bit of foreshadowing there as well.
And Kami also learns of his origin.
Yeah.
He's just like, wow, I never knew I was an alien.
Yeah, no, these, Nappa and Vegeta are actually great about teaching them about their heritage. Goku as well, learning about his Uzuru form, and we'll talk about that in a second here. When we find out that.
All the exposition that comes out of Vegeta and Nappa is honestly great stuff.
Yeah, this is all stuff that furthers the plot. It enriches the story. It gives them a lot more roots to grow from for future storylines. In the next couple sagas as well.
Right.
Now, basically, they're squaring off. This is kind of like getting ready for the big battle. Nappa takes out a small container. They're talking trash, like, oh, we'll destroy you. And like, you know what? Let's have some fun. He pulls out his Cybermen. And basically, these 6 Cybermen emerge, ready to battle. And I guess they had to, plot-wise, they had to bring the Cybermen involved, bring them into the series because, you had to have someone fight Yamcha, Chiaotzu, Tien.
Right. You can just have Nappa start because we've already established that it's going to take Goku a while to get back, and Nappa could just murk everybody if he wanted to. But there's another great narrative moment here where Vegeta tells Nappa, just take off your scouters. They're useless to us. Because unlike us, who have a set battle power, that it stays the same unless we're like tired, unless we've battled too much, it drops a little bit or whatever. Earthlings are weird. They can raise their battle power at will, which Raditz discovered when Goku did his Kamehameha and Piccolo did the Makanko Sapo. It's just like, these guys can change their power at will. Up to a certain point, but yeah.
Right, and it wasn't just that they could change their power up. It was also that they were able to, it's not just special attacks. Like when he does a Kamehameha, that's going to exponentially raise the power level, but also the humans who train on Earth, they can kind of hide their power levels and they can raise it on their own key as well as a special attack. Right. So it's not just like, a special attack raises power. No. They can lower and raise their attack power at will.
Right.
And, powering up, one of the biggest parts of Dragon Ball Z. So
yeah, totally. It gives them an excuse to scream and have fire come around them eventually.
Okay, anything else in this episode that we need to touch on here?
I just want to know what kind of world they needed to conquer where they needed Goku's help, because that was what Raditz said. And he's like, yeah, we ran into a world that it's going to be too much for us, but we figured that if you were here and maybe you weren't like a total weakling, you could help us. So if we imagine Nappa plus Vegeta plus 5 or 6 Cybermen who are all as strong as Raditz plus Goku, that they might have a chance. I'm like, what the hell world was this that they were trying to conquer?
Dude.
We never see it. I mean, I feel like Goku would love to go train there.
Oh yeah, he would too. All right, so that's basically getting us ready for this next episode, which is episode 23. Cyberlong Journey to Earth. The 2 sinister Saiyans made their presence known with explosive style. Now Krillin, Piccolo, and Gohan stand face to face with these Saiyan monsters and the diabolical henchmen they brought with them. Can they hold out until Goku arrives? Dun dun dun. All right. Cyberman attack. Want to talk about this one a little bit first, or want me to just?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to tee it up. So now, Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo have been standing here. The Cybermen hatch, and now coincidentally Yamcha, Tien, Chiaotzu show up. So now there's an equal amount of Cybermen per Z fighter. Z fighters. Yeah. And so Vegeta is like, hey, let's just play a little game. How about we have like a little contest where it's like one of you versus each of the Cybermen, which Piccolo hates because he's like, we're not fighting on your terms, asshole.
Right.
Like, we're not going to do this. But Krillin is, more of a tactician, not so hot-headed. He's like, actually, this is a good idea because it buys us some time because we don't have to fight them right now. We can just fight these guys.
And it gives Goku more time to get back there as well.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And so Tien goes first, does extremely well. Does it. And then Vegeta ends up killing it because it's cheap, right? Yeah. Like it does a cheap little attack on him or something. Or it runs away.
It runs away. It gets scared, runs away because Tien's kicking its ass, and then Vegeta just destroys it.
Yeah.
Next up is Yamcha, right?
There's a cool little thing when Yamcha starts fighting where we get a little world building into how people can watch people fight so quickly. Because Gohan is kind of like, I can't see anything that's going on. Like, where are they? They disappeared. And Piccolo is like, no, you have to sense them. Like, notice everybody else. And he looks over and Chiaotzu and Krillin are following them. Mm-hmm. It's like you have to find their energy and just lock onto them, and then you'll be able to see them. And I always thought that was a super cool little world building thing there.
Super cool point. I remember that when Gohan starts to learn how to follow ki instead of just watching with his eyes. Great spot there. Okay, so continued on. Yamcha battles the Cybermen and apparently defeats it with a Kamehameha, which is pretty cool. He then becomes cocky enough to challenge the remaining 4 Cybermen by himself, but the beaten Cybermen wake up and catch them by surprise. So Yamcha does a little work on these guys, knocks them down. He thinks
he does pretty good.
He does pretty good.
He gets shit on, but he does pretty good. He just didn't know that it wasn't finished off.
Yeah. I like Yamcha. I've always been a Yamcha fan. I know he's like one of the weaker Earthlings, but I think he's pretty cool. I always like him in Dragon Ball. He's kind of, he's my guy, and he got a little too cocky himself,
Right.
That's what happens when you're playing big leagues baseball. And
when this happened, it's a joke now in the fandom, but when this happened, it was devastating. The Cybermen that we were like, oh yeah, Yamcha's good. He dominated this thing, but it wasn't dead. So it kamikazes itself. It grabs onto him and just blows up.
Latches on, boom, blows him up, kills him. And then you get a really sad moment here at the end when they're like, first warrior to fall here is Yamcha.
Right.
I was like, you would have thought it was Chiaotzu or someone, a little weaker for sure. But
this is one of the first people, period, that we met in Dragon Ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was Bulma, Oolong, and then Yamcha. And he's been with us all that time.
The Desert Bandit.
I've said before, he has one of my favorite attacks, the Sokidan, which he can control. It's so awesome. But and then he's also Bulma's boyfriend.
Yeah.
On again, off again. But it was a tragedy. As a kid watching this, because again, the stakes here. Vegeta and Nappa haven't even entered the fight, and somebody is already dead.
Yeah.
Imagine that. All of the great shonen anime manga that have come after this, Naruto, everything. No one that I can remember has done something like this, where it's like a big consequential battle, and right from the beginning, everybody starts getting killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It was horrible, and it was a game changer. It's like, okay, these stakes are real. Goku's stakes, when he died, they were real, and now these Saiyans are here, and guess what? It's happening. And and it's going to go quick, and it's going to go hard, which is actually really cool, though, that this saga, we haven't mentioned this yet in this episode, but now from episode 16, 17, stuff starts to flow. And this is like actual plot, not too much filler. Right. And now we're really getting into the meat of the stuff. You get a really great scene here, which DK just touched on, where they're watching, back at Kami House, they're watching, the fight on screen because there's, camera crews and the news is there, and they're just, trying to get all the battle they can. And then you see Yamcha lying there dead, and Roshi senses it. They sense it, like, oh wow, Yamcha's dead, and Bulma has a flashback and shows some great moments of Yamcha back in the past. And it's really touching. It's it got me. Almost like Piccolo when Piccolo comes up, but this one it kind of stung a little bit. I was a little more affected this time around than I remember being. So
it is a important mark in the story to remind you what the stakes are. And it's like okay, this guy. He is good enough to defeat the Cybermen, but even good enough isn't good enough. And the Cybermen are weaker than the two guys who are about to go. And it's almost like a measuring stick for how hard the fight ahead is going to be. The fact that Yamcha just dies right here. It's great. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Raged over the loss of his friend Yamcha, Krillin unleashes a powerful attack that destroys the maniacal Cybermen once and for all. But the victory is only temporary. Now the Earth's defenders must battle the Saiyans themselves, and the terrifying Nappa is ready to fight. Or ready for a fight.
Yeah, this episode rocks.
Yeah.
I love Krillin. Krillin's probably, he's one of your favorite characters, one of my favorite characters.
He was my first favorite. Yeah. It was because I saw these episodes first. And Krillin, later he's kind of like, he develops his personality. He's like, I can't do it. I've never even had a girlfriend before.
Geez.
But he wasn't like that. He was a tactician, and he actually, fought his heart out, even though he was outnumbered, outgunned, whatever. Even on Namek, he wasn't. He was the first person to volunteer to go to Namek. He was a great character, and this attack that he does up top, he just basically does this crazy ki blast, which Nappa and Vegeta are like, what the hell is that? Like, look how slow that dumb thing is. And then he just whips his hands up, and it splits into a bunch of attacks that hit every other remaining Cyberman except for one that hides in a rock, and Vegeta and Nappa. It's a pretty powerful attack.
It's a goat move for a human. That's Krillin. One of my favorite things about Krillin that he does have a lot of great cool moves, and it shows he is definitely one of the strongest humans in Dragon Ball Z for sure.
Yeah.
And it's really, really cool. And so anytime I see Krillin take a W, I'm happy.
Totally
get a W.
And also he, out of all the humans except for Yamcha with the aforementioned Sokidan, invents his own techniques.
Right.
Because even, Tien has the Kikoho, or Tri-Beam, and that is established in Dragon Ball. It's a stronger technique on its face than the Kamehameha, but it is the technique of the Crane School. Right. It's the Dodonpa and the Kikoho are those two techniques. But this technique, this is something that he invented, and the technique that he does coming up, which we'll get into when we get there, which is one of the most iconic techniques in all of Dragon Ball Z, that's also something that he just invents right here. And it's honestly he could murk a lot more people if he combined that with the Taioken or Solar Flare. Right. If he just Taioken people and did this technique, he probably win a lot more fights than he does. But I mean, he's very innovative as a character.
Yeah, he's good. Continuing on, Vegeta and Nappa, however, come out unharmed. Cybermen are dead, okay? And then they start advancing on the team of our Z fighters. So Nappa, however, volunteers to begin the battle himself, and at random he picks Krillin and charges toward him. But Piccolo appears in his way and fires a blast. Nappa quickly dodges and delivers a kick to Piccolo during the confusion, sending him into a nearby rock, which happens quite a bit. And then Nappa begins powering up, and his power level skyrockets. Now, this is when Nappa starts fighting Tien. Long story short, Nappa powers up, and he strikes Tien. You see a really cool visual on this shot here. I think it goes black and white, inverted colors, and then boom, Nappa does a karate chop and cuts his left arm right off.
Right
at the elbow. And we were like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if Tien can
punches his arm off. Yeah.
Punches it. He chops it down right off. I was like, I don't think he can grow it back like Piccolo.
There was even a line in the original Ocean dub that aired in syndication where after he got his arm knocked off because they had to lower the stakes because it was children's television, the voice actor had to say, "You just wait till he grows back." It's like, oh, okay. So everyone can grow their arms back. But I believe, I think I mentioned in an earlier episode, this might be the first episode of Dragon Ball Z I ever saw.
Oh, wow, really?
Just jumped right in, with Krillin doing that crazy technique and it having no effect, and then Tien getting his arm punched off, and then what happens next to Chiaotzu, which is totally devastating. Where, Chiaotzu basically pulls a Cyberman. He grabs Nappa from behind, latches himself on, and self-destructs. He's like, I will kill myself to take out this threat. And he's saying goodbye because he's psychic to Tien in his head. And you can see Tien just going wait, what are you talking about? Why are you doing this? And then he blows up, and then it means nothing. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't even scratch Nappa's armor. It's
like we need some drinks to just pour out here for all our homies that are just going down.
Right. Just episode to episode.
Episode to episode. It's just like, that's what I'm saying. Now there is no, these are not filler. I mean, this is just, it is getting down and dirty, and, you know, they're going down. Chiaotzu has a really great moment with Tien, as we just talked about. He just said, you know, basically said, you know, thanks for everything. He's like, I missed you, but, you know, you're worth dying for, buddy, you know.
Was there a montage in the original thing?
So there is a montage. Yeah. There's a montage. It goes back to Dragon Ball, shows the Crane School, shows him at the Tenkaichi Budokai, actually shows Chiaotzu's dead body when he does die in Dragon Ball.
Coming back to life.
Yeah, and then it shows him getting revived by the dragon. And this is a really big moment, not just because Chiaotzu dies, but this is a big moment because Chiaotzu dies again.
Right, yeah.
And so the Eternal Dragon can only grant, you know, it can't grant the same wish twice. So
it can't bring a person back from the dead twice.
Sorry, it can't bring a person back from the dead twice.
And he even says, like, because Krillin wants to go first, and he's like, wait, you've already died before, Krillin. Right. Let me take care of this. Which might lower the stakes a little bit. At least emotionally, I didn't think it does for a first-time viewer. Because, I mean, again, my girlfriend is watching this for the first time, and when Yamcha died, even though she knew that the Dragon Balls existed, she was just, like, devastated. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter that you can bring him back later. If there's no Earth later, if Piccolo dies, there's no Dragon Balls, then nobody comes back. So it doesn't matter. But you're right. Chiaotzu is the first permanent death.
Yeah. And that hit Tien and everyone who's watching pretty hard. So that's a great moment there, too. So pour one out for our boy Chiaotzu, okay?
Yeah. And I mean, it was completely meaningless, too. Blew himself up and didn't even scratch Nappa. And that's why the episode in English is called The Power of Nappa.
It's the power of love. Yeah, really, you know, Tien and Chiaotzu, who knows, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they were brothers.
Yeah, they're
whatever.
Bros. Yeah. They're close. They're homies. All right. This is the last episode we're going to cover for this pod. You want to give us a quick breakdown? Another great one.
Sure. Sacrifice. In a desperate attempt to save his friends, Chiaotzu sacrifices himself to stop the evil Nappa. But when the smoke clears, Nappa is left standing or floating. Now Tien and the others must carry on without their friend as Nappa launches another devastating attack. And though his body is broken, Tien has one trick left that could put the diabolical Saiyan, and then the page refresh, so I'm just going to say, put him in the ground.
Put him in the ground, yes.
And this is like the charge that Tien does with one arm against Nappa, the furious charge with the veins in his eyes, and he's got one arm, and he's just like going all out against him. This was a beautiful moment, but there's more to touch on in this episode. Yeah.
Well, no, but let's just you're on the Tien part. Let's just go there right now.
Yeah.
So you think it would be, you know, Chiaotzu just died. Yamcha's dead already. You think when, you know, Tien, he's a very emotional fighter, you know?
Right.
He's pissed as hell. His buddy just died. Chiaotzu's gone. And Tien just furiously, he tries his best, furiously, but he's really not making any ground here. No. I mean, I think he gets a couple punches on Nappa, but nothing significant.
Yeah.
Nothing where you're like, oh, wow, that did damage. I mean, probably not even a scratch on Nappa.
Right.
But you definitely know once this onslaught starts happening, at least with Tien trying to attack Nappa, you know within the first like 10 seconds, like, oh no, this is not going to end well.
Oh yeah, totally. And there's some filler stuff here too where Krillin and Piccolo do like Naruto's technique, and they divide into multiple versions of themselves to attack Nappa when they're trying to let Tien rest a little bit, which is funny. And then when they get defeated and their bodies just happen to all perfectly land and go right back into each other, it's pretty funny. But yeah, what this turns into, Tien's last move, he's at death's door. And he's like, and he has one arm, and he's like, I'm gonna do one last Kikoho and take this guy out. And as we know, if we're reading the materials, the Kikoho is way stronger than the Kamehameha on its face. It is hugely destructive. So if anybody's gonna do anything with a blast, it's gonna be him. It might be the strongest just on its face ki attack, as we'll see in Cell later.
Right.
And he does it. and doesn't do anything again, and then he just falls down dead.
Yeah.
And that's it. So in 3 episodes, we've lost 3 people, which again is just unprecedented. And I can't think of another example of a shonen anime that's done that since. Yeah. Usually, like in Naruto, which I love Naruto, like not gonna crap on Naruto at all, but there are big battles where friends fall, but not in this, and not at this quantity, and not this early in the fight. Right. I mean, we've just Yamcha, Chiaotzu, Tien, boom, just all gone in a row. Naruto never does anything like that. I can't think of any example that does. I mean, it would be like for people watching One Piece, and I'm not current, but I'm pretty sure this hasn't happened. If the final fight, like in the first episode, Brooks gets killed, and then Chopper, and then Sanji, and then Robin, or Nico Robin, and stuff like that. It's like, wait, what? Like, what is happening? Yeah.
That's a ship without a crew. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. All the Nakama are going under. Yeah,
that's not a good look for our guys here. And poor Goku still's not even back yet, which is like, you know, he's definitely flying, but he's arriving, but you know, not before Tien's dead.
And there's a moment, because as Nappa's been attacking, he keeps hearing this name Goku, and he asks at one point, like, Goku, who's that? Is he strong? And Piccolo or Krillin's like, yeah, just you wait, you'll see. And then they meant, like, Krillin screams out when Tien dies, like, Goku, where the hell are you? Yeah. And Vegeta's like, they keep talking about Goku. Who the hell is Goku? And then Nappa's about to kill Krillin, and Vegeta's like, hey, Nappa, hold on a second. Like, hey, Goku, is that the guy that we call Kakarot? And kind of puts the pieces together. And then it's funny because it's like, what are you talking about? Like, he had a power level of 400 11 months ago. Like, he couldn't even, he got killed fighting Raditz. Like, what chance does he have against us? And that's when Gohan finally, you know, gets a little courage in him. Oh, because we haven't even gotten to the part where we need to touch on Gohan for a second.
Well, while we're still in the Kakarot thing, the Goku's Kakarot, that reveal right here. This is another interesting moment here because, you know, we're gonna get to this reprieve where Vegeta's like, okay, kind of honestly, it's more filler, you know, it's for filler. It's like, oh,
but I think he does.
Need 3 hours. We'll give you guys 3 hours so we can basically let the manga catch up.
Right.
But he basically says no. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna take a break here because I want Goku to be here, Kakarot to be here, while I kill his son, and then kill him. And then I want to talk shit and disgrace him for being a terrible Saiyan and being a pathetic loser.
He's a traitor, so he gets a special treatment. Yeah. I mean, because Nappa serving as the voice of the audience is like, what are we doing? Like, why are we waiting? Why not just kill them all now? But Vegeta is a proud Saiyan. He's got Saiyan pride, and he's like, Kakarot is the lowest of the low. He is a traitor to the Saiyans. So he gets a special treatment. He gets to watch as we kill his family and friends.
Just brutal.
Yeah.
Really cool, though. You know, like I said in a couple episodes ago, they don't do that in American shows.
No.
Especially for children. That's why anime is amazing.
When this came out, when I saw this in like 97 or whenever it was, I was like, what? This is nuts. I mean, and rewinding really quick. So Gohan has been training with Piccolo for a year. And we're seeing, you know, that all the training in the world, he's still just a 5-year-old boy. Yeah, he's not ready. There's a moment where, in order to capitalize on Nappa's distraction with Tien, Piccolo, Krillin, and him have to do an attack that might do significant damage to Nappa if they catch him off guard.
Thank you for reminding me. Great part. Continue.
Right. And then Piccolo and Krillin do their part. And Gohan is so scared that he literally runs away and hides. Literally runs away and hides. And this is a moment that my girlfriend was like, well, what was the point of all that training and stuff? And it's like, I mean, he is a 5-year-old boy. But something that is kind of funny when you factor in the filler is that in the filler, Gohan goes through significant growth. He matures. He sees the consequences of life and death. He refuses to go home because he's like, I have a responsibility to, with my life, guard my home, and goes back. But then all of that goes out the window the second we snap back into canon. But it is important right here that he is scared for the narrative and what comes later. So
I mean, I can't really fault Gohan, guys. He's 5 years old at this point.
No, yeah,
he's 5
absolutely.
years old. 1 year after he started training at age 4.
He's traumatized. He's
traumatized.
For 6 months, he was outrunning dinosaurs, like with no training, and then for 4 months after that, he was just getting his ass kicked.
Yeah, I mean, even in an earlier episode, just to go back.
Yeah.
Gohan couldn't watch. I don't know if it was Chiaotzu or Tien or someone was getting just their ass kicked by Nappa. And then Gohan was looking away. He's like, I can't watch this. And Piccolo says, no. He's like, you need to watch this because this is what real fighting is.
Right.
Maybe it's Krillin, but someone got just knocked down, and Piccolo made him, Gohan watch to see. But, that's an important part to know because, like, later on, it does come back in a few more episodes when, it does give a little more emotional heft and significance when Gohan gets a little limelight in a couple episodes.
I mean, it is important for his character that later he has to make the decision to fight even though he is afraid. Because we can empathize. He's a 5-year-old kid. He hasn't had a great year. He's watched somebody get murdered by a kamikaze explosion immediately and then saw one of his friends or allies kamikaze themselves to no avail. So what the hell is he going to be able to do? He's terrified. And so to cap this episode off, we have this reprieve, and this is the second time that we see just how strong Vegeta is, just in terms of how he relates to Nappa. There is no such thing as character. Character is only what people do. I think it's David Mamet that said that. Yeah.
Right.
Character is only what people do. And what we have here is Nappa is itching to fight. His Saiyan blood is boiling. He's like, fuck waiting. I'm attacking. And then Vegeta's like, are you defying me? Are you literally defying me? And Nappa again becomes a coward. And then Piccolo and Krillin even comment like, what the hell? Like, how strong is this guy? You see how scared of him that is? And that's great character writing right there. It's so simple, but it works so effectively.
Yeah. So I guess that's it.
It's a good stretch.
Good stretch, long, a lot of episodes. Remember to follow us. If you're still tuned in right now, thank you for staying. Hit like, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, give us 5 stars and write a nice review. It'll help us keep this thing going. And until next time,
Os.
sayonara. See you next time.